How can someone rise again after being left at the mercy of life, unsure of where to find hope? This question echoed in Marta's mind, a 35-year-old woman who, after being traded for a younger love, saw her world crumble. With 3 young children, she was forced to confront the harsh reality of living on the streets, where the indifference and disdain of strangers became her daily existence. The oldest, Lucas, 9 years old, was a boy with a generous heart and unique beauty, always trying to comfort his mother. The middle child, Sophia, 7 years old, was a beautiful girl but with a personality that made her difficult to handle. And little Raphael, only 4, struggled with health issues that required constant care. Life on the streets was a daily challenge. The nights were cold, and the days were filled with insecurity. Amid this relentless struggle, Marta dreamed of providing a better future for her children, a dream that fueled her determination. Marta's story begins in a moment of despair when the family finds themselves homeless and without resources. The coldness of the streets not only tested her physical endurance but also shook her hope. People passing by ignored her presence. Some even called her a freeloader, which hurt her deeply. She remembered the comfort of the home she had built with her ex-husband, and every look of disdain seemed like a cruel reminder of her new reality. But amid the darkness, a light appeared. A kind woman named Maria noticed the family and decided to take action. She bought sweets and water, offering an opportunity for Marta and her children to sell the products and try to support themselves. This small gesture of compassion became a turning point in Marta's life. As time passed, Marta's determination and Maria's support began to bear fruit. Sales increased, and gradually, Marta managed to rent a small house. With each achievement, she felt she was reclaiming part of what she had lost. The dream of seeing her children graduate from college began to seem like a real possibility. Interactions with neighbors transformed. The people who once ignored her began to recognize her struggle and appreciate her work. With each smile and word of encouragement, Marta felt stronger. While fighting to build a new life, Marta also faced the ghosts of her past. Memories of her ex-husband, who had left her without warning, often haunted her. Why did he replace her? What was wrong with her? These questions accompanied her through sleepless nights. However, instead of letting herself be defeated, Marta began to reflect on what truly mattered. The kindness that Maria had shown her taught her the importance of helping others, even when one is in a difficult situation. The connection she formed with the woman was a reminder that, despite her hardships, there was still goodness in the world. Marta decided that once she was in a more stable position, she too would help others in similar situations. This new perspective motivated her to work even harder. Over time, she managed to open a small shop selling kitchen utensils, plates, and cutlery. The business thrived, and Marta saw her efforts rewarded. Her children, inspired by their mother's strength, dedicated themselves to their studies and, after much effort, managed to enroll in college. The pride she felt watching them graduate was indescribable. As the years passed, Marta built a good fortune and found a new love, a kind man who supported and encouraged her in all her achievements. Together, they built a new life filled with love and understanding. Marta realized that life is made of new beginnings and that even after the most painful falls, it is possible to rise again. Her story is not just about overcoming challenges, but about the strength of love, solidarity, and resilience. And the question that once tormented her had now transformed into a powerful affirmation. It is possible to turn pain into hope and create a bright future, even in the face of adversity. Marta was determined to change her life and that of her children, but new challenges arose every day. At first, Selling sweets and water was merely a way to survive, but she knew she needed something more lasting. Maria, always by her side, became not just a mentor but also a friend. The two would talk for long hours while organizing the products for sale. Maria was a warm-spirited woman who had gone through her own difficulties, and this brought them even closer. "You have incredible strength, Marta," Maria said one day while they sorted through some boxes of sweets. "Don't give up. What you're doing isn't just for you. It's for your children. They need to see that you are a warrior." Marta smiled, but Maria's words also made her anxious. Was she really a warrior? When she looked at the faces of Lucas, Sophia, and Raphael, she felt a tightness in her chest. The pressure to give them a better life was immense. And every time she thought of her ex-husband, doubt crept in. Would he have done this for them? Would he have fought? The days became a routine of challenges, but also of small victories. Marta began to realize that, with each customer who smiled and praised her, a little bit of her confidence returned. However, insecurity was always lurking. On a cloudy morning, as she set up the stall to sell, she overheard a conversation between two women passing by. "Look over there, that woman with the children. I bet she's a freeloader. Did you see how she depends on charity?" The words cut Marta like blades. She turned to the children, who were playing in the distance, and her heart ached. What would they think of their situation? What would they feel if they knew the world saw them as a burden? Doubt consumed her. Marta felt lost, and for a moment, the thought of giving up crossed her mind. But when she looked at Lucas, who waved at her with a smile, and Sophia, who was trying to calm Raphael, her determination was rekindled. She murmured to herself, "I can't let them down. I need to be stronger." However, the struggle was far from easy. With the increase in sales, new problems arose. One day, a supplier failed to deliver the promised goods, and Marta was left without anything to sell. Desperate, she decided to go to the local market, but there she encountered an acquaintance of her ex-husband, a man who had always looked at her with disdain. Look who it is. The ex-wife of the great Carlos. "What's wrong? Have you become a street vendor now?" he mocked, laughing loudly. Marta felt her cheeks burn with shame. The man's contempt made her question her worth. Was this all she was destined to become? A woman of no value, just someone selling things on the streets? She quickly turned away, trying to hide the tears that threatened to spill down her face. "Come on, Mom. Look, I brought you a drawing." Lucas ran up to her, holding a crumpled piece of paper with a colorful drawing. "I drew you and the siblings." Marta looked at the drawing and felt her heart warm. This was a representation of the unconditional love they shared. Lucas's smile brought a new perspective. "Thank you, my love," she said, hugging him tightly. "You are my greatest treasure." After that day, Marta began to view interactions differently. The cruel words of strangers hurt her, but at the same time, she realized she couldn't let that define her. The strength of her children was her fuel. She remembered Maria and what she had said about helping others. Marta began to engage more with the residents on the street, offering support to others who were struggling. One afternoon, while selling her products, she met a woman named Renata, who also had children and was living on the streets. Renata looked visibly downcast, with dirty clothes and messy hair. Marta recalled how she felt when she was in the same situation and decided to approach her. "Hi, I'm Marta. Can I help you?" Marta said with a warm smile. Renata hesitated but eventually opened her heart. She shared about losing her job and being abandoned by her husband. Marta listened attentively, and when Renata finished, she shared her own story, her struggles, and the small victories she had achieved. They talked for hours, and by the end of the afternoon, Renata had a new sparkle in her eyes. Marta encouraged her to try selling some things she had and promised to help her find resources. The friendship that began there brought new meaning to Marta's life. As she helped Renata, she also began to help herself. The challenges felt smaller when shared, and the internal doubts that had once consumed her started to dissipate. Marta realized that by reaching out to others, she was also healing herself. However, the path was still filled with uncertainties. Each time she approached a new achievement, a new doubt emerged. Could she handle everything? What if she failed again? The pressure to succeed grew heavier, especially with her children watching her every move. They were her inspiration, but also the source of her insecurities. Marta began to reflect on her beliefs. What did it mean for her to be successful? To be seen as a strong woman? What would happen if she failed? These questions haunted her, and with each answer she found, new questions arose. She started to understand that success wasn't just about money or recognition, but about the ability to love and connect with others, even in difficulties. And so, little by little, Marta began to rebuild her life, not only seeking a better future for her children, but also creating bonds that would sustain her emotionally. In this new chapter of her life, Marta found herself surrounded by new friendships, and the solidarity she cultivated helped her cope with her insecurities. Each conversation, each gesture of kindness, reminded her that she was not alone. The journey was tough, but the strength within her grew day by day. And with that, her determination to build a better future for her children became firmer and unwavering. Marta felt that life was testing her every day. Just when she thought she had found a path, new obstacles appeared. The sales routine was becoming a bit more stable, but uncertainty still accompanied her like a shadow. The cruel words she had heard at the market haunted her, and even with the support of Maria and Renata, insecurity always seemed to lurk, ready to consume her again. One morning, while organizing the sweets at her stall, Marta received an unexpected phone call. It was the owner of the space where she had rented a small room to store her products. He informed her that he would need the space back in 2 weeks. Marta's heart raced. Without that space, how could she continue selling? The thought of losing everything she had fought for left her paralyzed for a moment. "What now?" she murmured, feeling a wave of despair wash over her. Looking at her children, who were playing happily, the pressure mounted. How will I explain this to them? That afternoon was torture. Marta walked the streets, but the joy she usually felt while selling turned into anguish. Every passing customer felt like a reminder of what she could lose. She sat down on a bench, her hands trembling, and began to question her decisions. Had she done everything right? Was she being a good mother by putting herself under this pressure? What would her children think if she failed? Meanwhile, Renata was facing her own battles. Marta had helped her friend sell some things, but Renata was still struggling with depression and a lack of hope. One day, Marta found Renata crying, sitting in a corner of the street. Renata had sold very little and was feeling discouraged. "I don't have the strength anymore," she confessed, tears streaming down her face. Marta felt a deep pain seeing her friend like this. "Renata, you are stronger than you think. Let's find a solution together." "We can't give up now," she said, trying to lift her friend's spirits. But Renata's frustration was palpable, and Marta began to feel helpless. What if I can't help her? What if I fail again? These thoughts tormented Marta, and the pressure on her shoulders seemed to increase. That night, alone in her bed, Marta reflected on everything. Doubts flooded her like a storm. Am I just postponing the inevitable? What if all of this is nothing but an unachievable dream? She remembered her ex-husband and how he always said she wasn't good enough. Maybe he was right, she thought, but quickly corrected herself. No, I can't think like that. I am a mother. I am more than that. However, the pressure for results began to weigh on her heart. In the following days, Marta decided to cut some expenses, even foregoing some essential things for her children. She wanted to save every penny to try to find a new storage space for her products. This, however, did not go unnoticed. Lucas and Sophia noticed the lack of some things, and questions began to arise. "Mommy, why don't we have cookies this week?" Sophia asked, her eyes curious. Guilt settled in Marta's chest. "I am doing this for you, so we can have a better future," she tried to explain, but the words sounded empty even to her. The smiles that once lit up her children's faces now seemed increasingly rare. She wondered if she was really doing the right thing. Was she sacrificing their happiness for her desire for success? The relationship between Marta and Renata also began to suffer under the pressure. Renata, still struggling with her own fight, started to feel resentful. "Why can you help everyone else, but you can't help me?" Renata asked, her voice filled with pain. Marta felt her heart tighten. She was trying, but the emotional burden was becoming unbearable. "I just want you to know that I'm here for you," she tried to explain. But Renata's frustration seemed greater than any words of comfort. That day, Marta decided she needed some time alone. She walked through the streets, trying to find clarity amid the chaos. Passing by a park, she saw children playing and laughed at the sound of their laughter. She remembered how, in the simplicity of things, there was joy. "This is what I want for my children," she thought. "Their happiness must come first." But reality hit her again. Upon returning home, she found an eviction notice. The landlord of the house they lived in was raising the rent, and she had no way to pay it. The feeling that the ground was opening up beneath her feet overwhelmed her. What would she tell her children? How would she explain that, after all the effort, they were about to lose once again? The tension between external challenges and her internal struggle was becoming unbearable. Marta sat at the table, her head in her hands, while her children played in the other room. The weight of responsibility crushed her. "I can't fail them again," she thought, as tears streamed down her face. "How can I be the mother they need if everything around me is crumbling?" In that moment, an idea emerged in her mind. What if, instead of isolating herself, she used the pain and uncertainty as motivation? Determined, Marta stood up, wiped her tears, and went to the tent. She knew she needed to find a new space, even if it seemed impossible. By sharing her difficulties with Maria and Renata, perhaps she could find support, and together they could overcome the challenges. Marta realized that true strength came from vulnerability. It wasn't necessary to carry the weight of everything alone. By opening her heart, she could build not only a better future for her children, but also a support network that would unite them in the same purpose. And maybe that was the key to not just surviving but truly living. Marta was determined. Looking at the tent, filled with sweets she had lovingly prepared, a flame of determination began to rise within her. The eviction notice and constant pressure were consuming her, but she remembered what truly mattered: her children. They were the reason she had fought this far, and she couldn't let fear paralyze her. With a new focus, she decided it was time to act. The next morning, Marta met with Maria and Renata. With a lump in her throat, she shared all her concerns. The words poured out of her mouth in a whirlwind of emotions. "I am about to lose everything. the storage space, the house. And I don't know how I'm going to explain this to the kids. I feel so lost, she confessed, tears streaming down her face. Maria, always the voice of reason, held Marta's hand. You are not alone. We are here with you. We will find a solution together, she said. Renata, who was struggling with her own shadows, looked at Marta with a mix of empathy and pain. I can't allow myself to be a burden right now. But that doesn't mean I don't want to help, she said, her voice trembling. Marta felt a warmth in her chest. Those words touched her deeply. It was true that she used to carry the weight of the world alone, but in that moment, looking into her friend's eyes, she realized there was a support network around her. Together, they could face any storm. With a renewed purpose, Marta began to think of alternatives. What if she organized a community event? A sales day where everyone could bring their products and come together to attract more customers? The idea began to take shape in her mind. What if we held a candy fair? We could invite other mothers and small entrepreneurs to create a supportive space, she suggested, excitement starting to shine in her eyes. Maria and Renata immediately agreed, and soon the trio was planning the event. It was a joint effort that would not only strengthen their relationship, but also bring hope to the community. Marta began to see a light at the end of the tunnel. The weight that had once crushed her started to dissipate, and for the first time in weeks, she felt she was in control again. However, as the days went by, the pressure of organizing began to mount. Marta spent hours planning, inviting people, creating a colorful poster, and promoting it on social media. But as the date approached, doubt began to creep back into her mind. What if no one showed up? What if the event was a failure? The old voices of insecurity started to whisper in her head, making her question her abilities. On the eve of the event, Marta sat alone, looking at the sweets she had prepared. Insecurity enveloped her like a fog. What if everything goes wrong? What if I'm not good enough? Despair nearly knocked her down. She remembered the words of her ex-husband, who always made her feel incapable. But then, amid this storm of thoughts, an idea emerged. What if I didn't let this control me anymore? What if I simply allowed myself to be me? On the day of the event, Marta was nervous but also excited. The venue was decorated with balloons and tables full of sweets, and as she looked at the crowd that began to gather, her heart raced. People started to arrive, and laughter and conversation filled the air. It was as if the energy of the community was coming together in one place. When Marta saw her children playing with other kids, a smile formed on her face. In that moment, she realized that true success was not just in the sales she would make, but in creating memories, sharing laughter, and bringing people together. Life was not just about what you achieved, but about the connections you made. The event was a success. Sales were better than she could have imagined, but what truly touched her was seeing the joy on people's faces. Marta felt empowered, and the confidence she had lost began to return. She realized that failing was not the end. It was just part of the process. Life was about getting up, coming together, and facing challenges as a community. That night, as she sat at the table with her children, Marta smiled at the joy on their faces. She had learned that even amid chaos, there was beauty and strength in vulnerability. Life was not perfect, but with support and love, it was possible to overcome any obstacle. And more importantly, she finally understood that true success would not be measured in money or status, but in the ability to love, to connect, and to face life storms, always surrounded by those she loved. The morning after the event, Marta woke up feeling a mix of euphoria and exhaustion. The sun streamed through the window, softly illuminating the room, but her mind was still in a whirlwind. She sat on the bed, looking at the walls that now seemed a bit more welcoming, reflecting on everything that had happened. The event had not only been a success, but also a turning point in her life. However, victory came with a price. As she prepared for the day, a wave of doubts began to rise again. What if this is just a fleeting moment? Marta murmured to herself while brushing her teeth. What will happen when the dust settles? Can I maintain this momentum? The insecurities she thought she had left behind began to whisper once more. She remembered past criticisms, the people who always said she wasn't good enough. The thought made her hesitate. When she descended to the kitchen, her children were sitting at the table, eating cereal and excitedly talking about the event. The joy on their faces brought a smile to hers. "Mom, it was so much fun. All those people came and loved your sweets," said Lucas, her youngest, with shining eyes. Marta felt her heart warm. Her children's happiness was undoubtedly what mattered most. "Yes, it really was amazing," she replied, trying to hide the shadow of doubt that still lingered. "But what if we can't do this again? What if people don't come back?" The question slipped from her lips before she could think twice. Lucas and his sister, Clara, exchanged confused glances. They didn't understand why their mother was worried. To them, everything had been perfect. "You can do anything, Mom. You're the best," Clara exclaimed, and Marta felt a little lighter. But still, the uncertainty persisted. She decided she needed to talk to Maria and Renata. Their support always helped her see things more clearly. When they met the following afternoon, Marta shared her concerns. "I don't want this to be just a fleeting dream. I'm so scared of going back to square one," she admitted, looking at the floor as she spoke. Maria, who always had a practical view, looked directly into Marta's eyes. "It's normal to feel fear, Marta. What's important is what you do with that fear. Let's use it as fuel to move forward," she said. Renata, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke. "I feel that way too. After the event, I thought, now what? What comes next? But we have to support each other and keep trying." Marta realized she was not alone in her insecurities. The other women were also struggling with their own doubts and longings. At the same time, they were together on this journey. Mutual support began to create deeper bonds among them. Together, they decided not only to continue organizing fairs, but also to start meeting regularly to discuss their dreams and challenges. However, as days passed, Marta began to realize that the pressure to succeed was affecting her relationships, not only with her children but also with her friends. She was so focused on ensuring that the next event would be even better than the last that she started to distance herself from everything that truly mattered. Her children began to notice her absence. "Mom, are you going to stay home or are you going to work again today?" Lucas asked in a sad tone as she prepared to leave. Marta hesitated. "I just need to do a few more things, my love. I promise I'll be home soon," she replied. But the expression on his face made her feel a knot in her throat. The weight of guilt accompanied her as she left, and doubt intensified. How far is this worth it? After a long day at work, Marta decided she needed some time for herself. When she returned home, she found her children watching a movie. Marta joined them, and upon seeing the joy on their faces, a new understanding began to emerge. It wasn't just about financial success, but about being a present mother, about shared laughter and the simple moments that made life worthwhile. That night, as she lay down, she pondered everything she had learned. The event had been a success, but the real victory was in having rediscovered her essence. She realized that she didn't need to carry the world alone. The support of her friends and the love of her children were the true pillars of her strength. Marta decided that from that moment on, she would seek balance. She would work on her dreams, but not at the cost of her relationships. It was time to redefine what success meant to her. As she began to imagine the next steps, she felt a new longing grow within her. Life wasn't just about material achievements. It was also about connection, love, and, above all, being true to herself. With this new perspective, Marta got out of bed, determined to face the challenges ahead, but now with a clearer vision of who she was. The path ahead was still uncertain, But she knew that with her friends by her side and the love of her children as her guide, she could weather any storm that life brought her. That sunny morning, Marta felt the weight of the expectations she had placed on herself. Doubt still lingered in her mind, but the joy on her children's faces encouraged her to find a different path. Determined not to let fear paralyze her, she decided to take small steps toward the balance she so desired. Throughout the week, Marta began to set boundaries. Instead of spending endless hours organizing the next event, she reserved specific moments to work and, more importantly, moments to be present with her children. That Friday, she cooked dinner with them, creating a warm environment. As they chopped vegetables and prepared the meal together, laughter filled the kitchen. Marta realized that even amidst the hustle, there was beauty in the little things, and it made her feel fulfilled. "Look, Mom, I'm a real chef," Lucas exclaimed, holding a carrot like a chef's knife. Marta laughed, feeling light. "You're doing a great job, my chef." And there, amidst laughter and play, she found a new satisfaction, one that didn't depend on applause or external recognition. That same week, Marta also met with Maria and Renata. They were eager to discuss new ideas, but Marta started the conversation differently. "I've realized I need help. I can't do everything alone, and I don't want stress to push me away from you and my children," she admitted, looking at her friends with sincerity. Maria smiled, understanding Marta's internal struggle. "We're here for that. Let's work together and support each other. It doesn't have to be perfect." Renata, always the voice of reason, added, "What if we organized an event that also involved the kids? That way, we can include the family and make everything lighter." The idea lit up Marta's face. The vision of an event that brought together family and friends seemed not only more fun, but also an opportunity to create valuable memories. The conversation flowed, and the friends began to plan together, each contributing their skills and ideas. Marta felt a weight lift. She was not alone. There was a team by her side. As the days went by, Marta began to allow herself to fail. One afternoon, while testing a new cake recipe, she got distracted and ended up burning the batter. Instead of getting frustrated, she laughed at the situation. "Well, this cake isn't going to win any awards, but it will definitely be a funny story to tell," she said to Lucas and Clara, who just laughed even more. "Shall we try again?" Clara suggested, and Marta agreed. This lightness in dealing with mistakes began to reflect in other areas of her life. Marta realized that failing was not the end, but an opportunity to start over. The family event they were planning was approaching quickly. Marta, Maria, and Renata worked together. But unlike before, Marta did not let anxiety consume her. She remembered Maria's words about using fear as fuel and began to focus on what was really important: the connections they were creating and the joy they wanted to share. When the day arrived, Marta was nervous but also excited. She saw the children running and playing, the adults chatting and laughing, and a sense of accomplishment washed over her. The event was a success not only in terms of attendance, but because it captured the essence of what she wanted: unity and joy. At the end of the day, while watching her children have fun, Marta realized that true wealth was not in numbers or fame, but in shared happiness. That night, as she lay down, Marta reflected on everything she had learned. Success was no longer a finish line, but a journey filled with small moments of happiness, overcoming challenges, and connection. She took a deep breath, feeling stronger than ever. Life had its complexities, and she was learning to navigate them, accepting both the highs and the lows. The friendship that had solidified between her, Maria, and Renata was one of the greatest gifts she could have. They were not just work partners. They were support, understanding, and shared laughter. Marta realized that these bonds were fundamental to her growth, and the new wisdom she had gained helped her see the world with new eyes. With this new perspective, Marta decided that, regardless of the challenges that would come, she would face each one with courage. Life was more than material achievements. It was about the relationships we nurture, the moments we share, and the journey we take. And with that, Marta felt she could weather any storm, knowing she would always have a safe harbor in her children and friends. Overcoming challenges was not just a destination, but an important part of who she had become. And finally, Marta was ready to write the next chapter of her story, one step at a time. On the morning of the long-awaited event, Marta woke up with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The sun was shining through the window, illuminating the room and bringing a sense of renewal. However, in the back of her mind, doubts began to whisper again. What if everything goes wrong? What if people don't like it? What if the kids don't have fun? The pressure seemed to increase with every passing minute. She quickly got up, trying to shake off the negative thoughts and focus on what really mattered, the joy of being with her children and friends. As she prepared, Marta realized she had forgotten to confirm the attendance of some suppliers. Her heart began to race. What if the sound system doesn't work? What if the food doesn't arrive on time? These questions haunted her. She took a deep breath, trying to find balance. In the past few days, she had learned to deal with the unexpected, but the truth was that fear still accompanied her. At the event, the space was decorated with colorful balloons and tables full of treats. The children ran back and forth, their laughter echoing in the air. Marta watched everything with a nervous smile, but the pressure mounted when she realized the music still hadn't started. "Maria, hasn't the DJ arrived?" she asked, trying to stay calm. Maria was so engrossed in chatting with Renata that she didn't notice the tension on her friend's face. "Leave it to me, Marta. I'll call him right now," Maria said. But Marta's expression didn't relax. As Maria tried to resolve the situation, Marta felt the weight in her chest increase. What would happen if the event had no music? What if people started leaving disappointed? The voices of the children, once so joyful, began to mingle with her fears. It was then that Clara approached, holding Marta's hand. "Mommy, are you okay?" the girl asked with a worried expression. Marta knelt to Clara's height and hugged her. "I'm fine, dear. I'm just a little nervous." Clara smiled, and in that moment, Marta realized her daughter didn't care if everything was perfect. For Clara, what mattered was being there together. Inspired by her daughter's innocence and simplicity, Marta decided she needed to change her perspective. "Let's have a dance. That way we can cheer everyone up while we wait for the music," she suggested. Clara looked at her with sparkling eyes of enthusiasm. Marta began to move, pulling Clara to dance with her. Soon, other children started to join in, and even without music, the energy began to fill the space. As they danced, Marta remembered Renata's words about the importance of allowing oneself to fail. The laughter of the children and the joy in the air were more valuable than any criticism. She realized that her expectation of perfection was the real villain of the story. Dancing with her children, she felt free. The weight of obligations and fear began to dissipate. But the tension didn't stop there. When the music finally came, Marta saw there was a technical problem. The sound wasn't working. Panic returned, and she felt on the verge of a breakdown. "I can't let this happen," she thought. However, instead of allowing herself to be consumed by despair, she took a deep breath and decided to take action. "Everyone, let's have a dance competition," she announced with a smile, trying to regain the event's energy. The kids cheered and ran to form a circle. Marta began to lead the dance, and soon everyone was involved, laughing and having fun. The music finally started playing, but the dance competition had already become the center of attention. Feeling more confident, Marta looked around and realized she was not alone. Maria and Renata were by her side, helping to energize the crowd and involve everyone. The friendship and support she had cultivated over the past months were right there in front of her, showing the strength that came from unity. After a while everyone was immersed in fun, Marta had a moment of clarity. The fulfillment was not in the details of the event, but in the memories being created. She saw Lucas and Clara laughing together, and the image made her feel a wave of love and gratitude. At the end of the day, after the dance competition and many laughs, Marta sat in a corner, exhausted but filled with joy. The energy of the event still pulsed around her, but inside, there was a serenity that hadn't existed before. The experience had been a mix of challenges and triumphs, but above all, she had found the strength she needed to move forward. As everyone began to say their goodbyes, Marta realized she had freed herself from her internal shackles. True wealth was not in having a perfect event, but in having friends by her side and joyful moments with her children. That afternoon had been a profound lesson about what really mattered in her life. Looking at Maria and Renata, who approached with wide smiles, Marta felt that her story was just beginning. She had learned to embrace imperfection, to trust her friends, and to prioritize what truly mattered. With a heart full of gratitude, she was ready for whatever came next, willing to face each challenge with courage and love. Marta sat in a corner of the hall, observing the scene unfolding before her. The children were still jumping and dancing, the music now filling the space with a contagious rhythm. She felt a deep relief, as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. With a smile, she realized that the event, despite the setbacks, had become a memorable moment, full of joy and laughter. Clara, her daughter, was at the center of the dance floor, surrounded by friends. Marta saw her raise her arms and shout enthusiastically while dancing. The sight of her daughter so happy warmed her heart. Marta realized that behind all her worries about perfection, there was something much more important: the well-being and happiness of her children. Meanwhile, Maria and Renata approached, both with wide smiles and radiant expressions. Maria, still breathless from dancing, shot a knowing glance at Marta. "You saw. The kids are having the time of their lives. And you were amazing. Your idea for the dance competition saved the day." Marta smiled, but before she could respond, Renata added, "You know, Marta, you really overcame your limitations today. I saw you giving your all, even when everything seemed to go wrong. That's a great achievement." Those words touched Marta in a way she hadn't expected. She had fought against her own insecurities and fears, but now, hearing her friend's acknowledgement, she began to realize that she had indeed made progress. The pressure she had felt earlier, the need for everything to be perfect, now seemed like a distant memory. She had learned to embrace imperfection and to find joy in the little things. "Thank you, girls," Marta replied, feeling emotional. "Today was a true lesson for me. I realized that our children's happiness is what really matters. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to be present and enjoy ourselves with them." The two friends nodded, and a comfortable silence settled between them as they contemplated the laughter and energy that still filled the hall. Marta looked at the smiling faces around her and realized that the friendship and support she had cultivated were more valuable than any successful event. As time passed, the event came to an end. The children, exhausted but happy, began to say their goodbyes. Marta realized that despite the difficulties, she had created priceless memories. While helping to tidy up the space, Marta reflected on what she had learned. The pressure she had felt earlier wasn't just about the event, but about her life in general. Often, she let herself be carried away by expectations, forgetting to live in the moment. Now, with a new understanding, she decided she was ready to allow herself to fail, to start over whenever necessary. The next day brought a renewed spirit. Marta woke up feeling revitalized. Life wasn't about perfection, but about the journey and the connections she made. With that in mind, she decided it was time to start a new project, a mother's club in the neighborhood, where they could gather, share experiences, and above all, support one another. With the help of Maria and Renata, she began to plan monthly gatherings where they could exchange ideas, have fun, and maybe even learn to dance together. While Marta organized her thoughts, Clara entered the room, interrupting her musings. "Mom, can I help?" the girl asked, her eyes shining with excitement. "Of course, my love. How about creating some posters to invite the moms and kids?" Marta replied, feeling grateful to have such an engaged daughter. Clara smiled and began to draw while Marta thought about all the possibilities this new project could bring. She knew that, just like at the event, there would be challenges, but now she was willing to face them head-on. Over time, Marta noticed that her interactions with those around her began to change as well. She became more open and receptive, forming deep bonds with other mothers who were going through similar situations. The conversations were filled with empathy and laughter, and Marta felt that friendship was one of the greatest riches in her life. The experience of the party not only transformed Marta but also influenced her friends. Maria began to get more actively involved in community projects, while Renata, inspired by Marta's strength, decided to take up her old hobby of painting again, something she had set aside for years. Together, they began to support each other in their personal journeys, celebrating achievements and offering shoulders to lean on in difficult times. Marta smiled as she realized that life was full of new beginnings and that each challenge was a new opportunity for growth. She had learned to view failures as part of the process and to embrace the beauty of imperfection. With a lighter heart and a new mindset, Marta was sure that happiness didn't come from doing everything right, but from living each moment with love and gratitude. And so, Marta moved forward, ready for any adventure life had in store for her, knowing that with her friends by her side and the love of her children, she could face whatever came her way. Months passed since that memorable day in the hall, and Marta looked back with a nostalgic smile. The transformation she had experienced was not limited to a single event, but reverberated in all aspects of her life. She had learned to let go, to abandon the relentless pursuit of perfection that had so often paralyzed her. Every shared laugh, every faced failure, and every moment of joy now formed a vibrant mosaic of experiences that shaped who she was. Marta remembered how, before, expectations weighed heavily on her shoulders. She thought happiness depended on control and order, but now she understood that true happiness flourished in acceptance and spontaneity. By creating the Mothers Club, she not only connected with other women who shared the same insecurities, but also allowed herself to be vulnerable. The meetings became a safe space where laughter and tears coexisted, and where everyone learned from one another. Marta saw her friends opening up, and that inspired her to continue her journey of self-discovery. The children, in turn, were growing up in a lighter and more welcoming environment. Clara, who had once been shy and insecure, had become a confident girl. Dance and joy had become part of her essence, and Marta realized that the new way of living directly reflected in her daughter. Clara often organized small performances at home, where everyone would dance together, creating memories that Marta knew would stay with them forever. Her daughter's happiness was a constant reminder of the impact Marta's change in attitude had on her life. As the months passed, the friendship between Marta, Maria, and Renata grew stronger. They discovered they could support each other in their personal journeys. Renata returned to painting, and her works reflected not only her improved technique, but also the freedom she now felt. Maria, for her part, became involved in volunteer activities, bringing new purpose to her life. The trio gathered frequently, not only to dance but to dream and plan a more connected and supportive future. One afternoon, while having tea and laughing about the adventures of the week, Marta reflected on how everything had changed. She realized that the unexpected friendship that had blossomed along her journey was one of the greatest gifts she could have received. The connection with those women taught her that everyone faces challenges and that together, they can overcome them. They had become a chosen family, supporting each other in difficult times and celebrating each other's successes. Marta also thought about the life lessons she had learned. She committed to living according to those teachings. With each new challenge, she remembered that failing was not the end, but an opportunity to start anew. This new perspective helped her deal with situations that once made her anxious. Now, instead of fearing the unknown, she embraced uncertainty as part of life. One day, while looking at a wall of photos that displayed moments from the Mothers Club, Marta felt a wave of gratitude. The images captured laughter, tears, dances, and hugs, all symbolizing the journey she and her friends had taken together. True success was not in individual achievements, but in the richness of shared experiences, in building bonds that would last a lifetime. Marta allowed herself a moment of introspection. She had learned to live in peace with her emotions, to understand that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. Life was not a straight line, but a path full of curves, and each curve brought new lessons. With this in mind, she decided that she would continue to be a source of light not only for her family but for everyone around her. And so, Marta moved forward, knowing that life is made up of moments, and that each moment is an opportunity to connect, to love, and to grow. The journey of overcoming, which had started with a simple party, had now become a beautiful story of friendship, learning, and transformation. She was ready for whatever came next, with an open heart, surrounded by the love of her friends and the joy of her daughter. And so, Marta knew that the true wealth lay in human connections and the memories they created together, a legacy that would endure for generations. Marta reflected on everything she had experienced in the past few months. The party hall, which had once been just an ordinary space, now symbolized a significant turning point in her life. Looking back, she realized that each laugh, each tear, and each moment of vulnerability contributed to a profound transformation. She had left behind the obsessive pursuit of perfection and embraced a new philosophy of life. True happiness resides in acceptance and the ability to connect with others in a genuine way. While watching Clara play with her friends in the backyard, Marta felt a wave of gratitude. That little girl, who once hid behind her own shyness, now shone with confidence. The welcoming environment that Marta had created, filled with love and freedom, had allowed Clara to flourish. Marta smiled back, knowing that this transformation was a result of a change in her own life. The trio of friends had become a true support network. In their tea afternoons, they shared dreams and insecurities, always encouraging one another. Renata, with her new paintings, expressed the freedom she had found, while Maria shared the joys of volunteering. "You have no idea how this made me feel alive again," Maria said during one of their meetings, her eyes shining. Marta knew those words echoed the experiences of all of them. They had supported each other in difficult times and celebrated their achievements, creating bonds that became unbreakable. As time passed, Marta also began to notice some changes within herself. She felt lighter, more open to the world. The worries that once paralyzed her started to dissipate. "Life is full of surprises," Marta commented one day as she observed the activity around her, "and I am learning to embrace each one of them." The friends agreed, laughing and recalling moments when they had been positively surprised, even when everything seemed uncertain. One afternoon, while organizing a dance presentation for the children, something unusual happened. The sky, which had been sunny, suddenly darkened, and a storm was approaching. The children began to get restless, and Marta noticed anxiety spreading among the adults. "Let's do this together," Marta said, standing up confidently. "The dance doesn't have to stop because of the rain. Let's bring the joy inside." The mothers agreed, and soon the atmosphere was filled with music and laughter, even with the storm outside. Marta realized this was the essence of her journey, the ability to transform challenges into moments of unity and joy. As the storm passed, a rainbow began to appear in the sky. Marta looked at her friends and their daughters, all smiling and dancing, and felt an immense inner peace. It was as if life was showing her that even in adversity, there was always beauty to be found. "Look, girls, life is like this rainbow," Marta said. "After the storm, we can always find vibrant colors. And we are each other's colors." Time passed, and Marta decided it was time to express her gratitude. She organized a party in honor of the Mothers Club, where each one would have the opportunity to share their stories and achievements. That night, as the lights shone and the music played, Marta addressed everyone. "If it weren't for each one of you, I wouldn't have found the strength within me. This journey wouldn't be the same without our friendship. Tears of joy began to roll down the women's faces, and a feeling of unity and love filled the space. That same night, while the stars shone in the sky, Marta had a moment of introspection. She realized that although her journey was filled with challenges, each one had contributed to her transformation. Life was not about avoiding failures, but about learning from them and starting over whenever necessary. True success, Marta thought, is not measured by what we achieve, but by the connections we make and the memories we create. With this thought, Marta raised her glass in a toast. Friendship, love, and the experiences we share are the true riches we have. May we always remember this and continue to dance through life, no matter what happens. The friends raised their glasses, and the room filled with laughter and promises of mutual support. Marta knew her journey would not end there. Life would always bring new lessons and challenges, but she was prepared. And, as a touch of divine justice, the connection she had built with her friends and the transformation she had experienced were the most valuable gifts she could have. She smiled, convinced that life was a beautiful dance and that she was ready to dance, not just for herself but for all those around her. And so, Marta invited everyone to reflect on their own journeys. Let's share our stories. What have you learned from your experiences? How have your friendships changed your life? She encouraged everyone to leave their reflections, not just as a gesture, but as a way to strengthen this support network. Like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to spread this message of love and friendship. After all, every moment is worth celebrating, and together we can go even further.